I think Iran noticed that they almost gave away their hand as they have decided to reimpose restrictions and close the Strait of Hormuz. And they did this because President Trump announced that he is not releasing the blockade off of Iran. Nobody can do business with Iran. And so Iran said, well, we are going to close the Strait of Hormuz again, exercising our strict control. And I believe that's a quote. Now, prior to this, so in the last 24 hours, almost a dozen ships made it through, with at least 4 that were sanctioned. But it is unreported on whether they were actually carrying cargo or what type of cargo they were carrying. However, departing the strait probably means that they were loaded with cargo of some type. Now, I want to talk about the crude oil tanker Alicia. Many have pointed out that this vessel was able to break through the blockade. Yes, that's because the vessel was empty and it was going into the Gulf. Now, it's suggested through news reporting that it was there to conduct ship-to-ship transfer, but that means it's going to receive oil. So we know exactly where it's at. If it decides to leave, it's going to get blocked. That said, I want to talk about these ship-to-ship transfers. We know that that's what they are doing. This has been their modus operandi for years, and with very little enforcement other than traditional sanctions. And so if vessels did happen to break through the blockade, their next destination is the Malacca Straits, where they will conduct another ship-to-ship transfer as they move on to Chinese ports. Keep in mind, prior to this conflict, China was receiving approximately 2 ships a day. Now, because of this conflict, they've received approximately less than 2 ships a week. So in all measure, this is still continuing to be a success. Because since the blockade, the U.S. has turned back 23 ships. On top of that, CENTCOM had reported that they started U.S. mine clearing efforts at the start of the blockade. So they've been conducting mine clearing efforts all this week, not just using mine clearing ships. Everybody's so focused on these old ships that we no longer need. We have drones, people. We have underwater drones, completely robotic, that can assist us and are currently assist us in locating the mines that Iran admitted that they lost. Now, the way in which Iran is saying that they are exercising strict control over the strait is by simply sending out the equivalent of a gunboat and firing on a ship, which is what they did. They sent out 2 gunboats, fired on a commercial vessel, and it turned around, thus announcing that they've closed the strait. Keep in mind that we want them to do all of these things. We are tracking all of their tactics, all of their techniques, and we are conducting an active and comprehensive collection campaign to further action targets if and when necessary. On top of that, these sanctioned vessels are facing new sanctions as Operation Financial Fury, announced by Scott Bessent on Friday, is currently underway. So these are new sanctions, upwards of 1,000 against new ships, new owners, and countries doing business. And we're talking to you, Iraq. So this is still in force, in full effect. And by all measure, we still control the Strait of Hormuz, and we're simply arresting any kind of control that Iran thought they used to have. And this is a slow process, and it's going to come with different variables that are going to change the timeline, like what is currently happening today. That said, the media will continue to try and confuse you by giving you ridiculous headlines like ships traveled the Strait of Hormuz without telling you that they got turned around at the Gulf of Oman, for example. Or they'll tell you that a ship did break through, thus showing that the entire thing is a failure, when you don't even know the story behind that ship breaking through. Maybe it was carrying cargo we don't care about. Maybe it wasn't a sanctioned ship. Maybe it was a sanctioned ship and we want to see what it does after the fact. There's a lot to these operations that a lot of people don't want to talk to you about because they don't know any better, or because they are just deliberately against U.S. actions and want to paint a misinformation picture for you. But make no mistake, the U.S. is retaining and gaining more control over the strait, and Iran is in the weakest position they've ever been in history, despite what all of the experts are telling you.